In your world, ladies and gentlemen, you liken time to a straightened arrow. The head of the arrow pointed to the future, and the feathery quill bit behind, in the past, probably wearing a Walkman or Party of Five t-shirt. I am here to shatter those illusions. For time is nothing as crude as linear as an arrowhead. It's more akin to a Mark 211 Mod 0 high-explosive incendiary armor-piercing sniper round containing a .30 tungsten penetrator, zirconium powder, and composition A explosive. Or a chocolate eclair, because it's got flaky pastry. Never is this factual fact more applicable than in the story of Benjamin Bakula. A tall, fair-haired man with four moustaches surrounding his lips, Benjamin Bakula was one of the many office workers in Liverpool tasked with monitoring the Hellmouth below Dale Street. And as you may guess, this position was not very good for his health. The workers were oft plagued with carpal tunnel, vitamin D deficiencies, and the occasional possession by demonic entities. You know, general office illnesses. But Benjamin was all right, because he was in his early 20s. As a young desk monkey, Benjamin could sit at his computer, punching in the numbers between coffee and biscuits until break time, when he would go to the vending machine as an excuse to flirt with the secretaries nearby, using a pack of original flavour hula hoops to propose to each of them in turn, before pretending the last potatoey cylinder was the one ring to rule them all. And they loved him for it. The pen-pushing day job meant that Benjamin never had to worry about money in the bank. So at the weekends, he would discard his sensible chinos for his pulling breeches, complete with LED codpiece and a night on the town. Downing pints of Jaeger export, Carlsberg bombs, and fizzy pop, he'd party all night long before stumbling to the nearest kebab shop for something wrapped in something for under a tenner, all effortlessly paid for with a single swipe of his contactless card payment. But then, on his 25th birthday, the change began. He started and finished every day tired. He began to cherish every early night. His waistline expanded as each hangover became harsher, and all his favourite foods went straight through him like a poltergeist. With nothing else to do on the toilet but flip through his old profile pictures, Benjamin even began to suspect that someone had been sneaking into his room at night with a bicycle pump to slowly inflate his face. Something was amiss. The secretaries no longer gave his Gollum impression their full attention, as it had become increasingly disingenuous coming from his doughy physique. They began to refer to him as Chubster or Pudge, and for sport, talked to keeping metal pens in the office fridge, taking turns to drop the chili stylus down his bum crack whenever he bent over. Things came to a head at the New Year's party when the girls left a fountain pen in the freezer overnight, and the resulting drop left Benjamin with a Parker pen logo permanently frostbitten into his arse cheeks. The downward arrow only encouraging further attempts. Even Fat Chris, the office's portly human resources manager who had taken him to A&E for the frostburn, started to take the piss. "I'll have to start calling you Fat Ben soon," he chuckled, taking another fistful of nuggets from the toggle-shut duvet cover filled to capacity with KFC. Like a lumberjack with a lax attitude to health and safety, Benjamin Bakula was carrying too much timber. And as he sighed and watched the fireworks from the hospital window, he wished he could be anywhere else. He also wished he could lie on his back, but the former feelings are more significant to our tale. 3 weeks into January, Benjamin flopped down on the floor of his bachelor pad after a third unsuccessful attempt at bench pressing the new rowing machine he had bought with his contactless card payment. 2 stationary exercise bikes sat with an air of smug defiance, as they too had resisted his attempts to deadlift or arm curl them. Benjamin trudged to the bathroom, and with the same enthusiasm that a condemned man mounts the electric chair, stepped onto the scales. After a few minutes leaning backwards and forwards, there was no improvement. He cracked open a Lucozade tropical protein shake. If these things didn't start working soon, he was going to have to do something drastic, like swallow a tapeworm or join a gym. 3.5 weeks into January, Benjamin hit the rough carpet outside the office gym. "I know I don't have a membership, but I was only using the free weights," cried Benjamin into the back of the unsympathetic gym instructor. As he groaned face down in the carpet, he heard the squeak of wheels. He looked up. It was Ichi Namagumo, the office coffee trolley man. A slight mystery as to why there was an office coffee trolley man, seeing as there was a kitchenette and a vending machine on each floor, and a full Costa downstairs. Still, there was no real limit to the corpulence of the corporation's employees. "Are you all right?" asked Ichi. "No," grizzled Benjamin, coughing tears from his face. "I need to lose weight, but I don't know how. Oh, why isn't there just a way of paying someone to show you?" he whined, drying his tears on a flyer for personal trainers. "You poor man," sighed Ichi. "You want some cake?" Yes, please," said Benjamin immediately. "Have you considered drinking less, Mr. Bakula-san?" said Ichi, his wise moustache gently vibrating. "Those fat frogs from Blue Angel that you're so fond of are 14,000 calories a half. That's what a man of your build is supposed to have in a week." Benjamin considered this, but not for very long. "I'm not giving up my fat frogs. Honestly, you'll be asking me to give up the quadvogs next," he said, massaging the right side of his chest, which had lately begun to hurt intermittently. "Have you ever tried the ancient art of jogging?" "Jogging?" corrected Benjamin. "What's so great about jogging?" "Jogging, Mr. Bakula-san, is the most spiritual of journeys. For the purpose of all sojourns is to ultimately find yourself, and no matter the length and shape of the park you jog round, you will always arrive full circle, back at your house. Take the key from inside your sock or small backpack, Mr. Bakula-san. You'll find yourself inside." "I don't have time for jogging," said Benjamin. "I'm generally raving till the early hours, and then I've got to buy flip-flops. I'm going to Magaluf in a week." Ichi nodded thoughtfully, and in place of a curt verbal response, produced a pair of Adidas Samba trainers, proffered to him by a skeletal hand that emerged from the coffee urn. A chill went down Benjamin's spine, which for once wasn't an icy Parker pen. "These will help you find the time, Mr. Bakula-san." And so, giving no thought as to the motivations of a man with a cake trolley hanging around outside a gym, Benjamin took the proffered trainers and went home. The dawn of the next day saw Benjamin pull on his faded Carnage pub crawl t-shirt, which still had faded dicks drawn all over it, but was the only cotton garment he owned that fitted loosely enough, and pull on his old PE shorts, which he generally wore to bed now, and then put on the mysterious Adidas Samba trainers, massaged his glutes, and began to jog. As Benjamin ran along to part 2 of Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, a favourite of his since his parents' surprisingly amicable divorce, his eyes scanned the rising summer sun, glittering across the modern, spacious flat complexes surrounding his local park, enticing him across the hard concrete paving slabs, stretching before him like L. Frank Baum's yellow brick road in a post-goal standard Oz. "This is great," he thought. "My glutes are getting the workout of a lifetime, and I haven't even stumbled upon any corpses yet, which is, I understand, a trope. Why, I could go on all day." But he didn't, and not just because he was shagged out after 15 minutes. Benjamin's rhythm was broken all of a sudden by a full-size billboard advertising the RMS Titanic. How odd, he thought, to think that Leonardo DiCaprio would ever get an Oscar. His thoughts consumed by the thoughts of the bear rape scene in The Revenant, he did not notice the other jogger, who he almost collided with. "Sorry," gasped Benjamin.
"No worries," replied his fellow, in an oddly pleasant and optimistic way for anyone living in 2020.
As he continued through the park, Benjamin found himself in the middle of some sort of fun run. Several men and women dressed in animal skins, roaring and cheering as they caught sight of what was presumably the finish line, an enormous volcano belching red-hot lava onto what had been the duck pond by the grandstand. They were having such a whale of a time that they kept pushing Benjamin out of the way, and he had to be quick to dodge two men in an incredibly convincing saber-toothed tiger costume, bounding off into the crowd ahead of him to hug the stragglers, presumably for emotional support. Benjamin turned to look back the way he had come. All of the shops and people looked out of date, like they had been sat on a shelf since Victorian times. And as he slowed his pace, he began to feel snow moistening his tracky bottoms. Benjamin watched the men in top hats and coattails strut along the cobbled street, their walking canes striking hard against the flagstones, and across the face of the urchin boy begging for change. "This can't be right," thought Benjamin. "Maybe I've accidentally run through several roadblocks, security guards and troops of wardrobe, catering and camera equipment, and thus onto a film set without noticing." Poor Benjamin. He simply couldn't take it in and rationalize what was really taking place. As he stared in disbelief at his surroundings, he was knocked off balance by a gentleman on a penny farthing, complete with pinstripe trousers, waistcoat and mutton chops, bellowing at him to watch where he was going. "Fucking hipsters," muttered Benjamin, wiping the snow from his face. Strange, the white stuff tasted salty. As he got to his hands and knees and spat out the real fake snow that he had landed in. For you see, my friends, Benjamin Bakula was right. He was on a Victorian film set. A Victorian film set in the 1970s. Benjamin screamed and ran as fast as he could. He ran and ran and he ran still more. He ran through time, and everything changed around him. Parachute pants came in and out of fashion. The 1930s came and went, and then came again ironically, and dinosaurs ruled the earth via 3 consecutive Tory governments. As Benjamin turned right to the Cretaceous period, his surroundings suddenly returned to normal. Sunshine replaced snow. The cowboys became cowboy builders, and Benjamin was relieved to spot a modern-day Greggs. Wearily dragging his glutes towards the comforting comfort food, he passed Jennifer, lying on the park bench. She'd been asleep all this time. Benjamin entered the Greggs, grabbed a basket and filled it with sausage rolls and steak slices, content to never exercise again. He placed the basket on the counter and passed his bank card to the girl behind it, who placed it in the bottom of the chip and pin machine and waited for it to read. "Just need to put your pin in for me, love," she said, smiling sweetly. "Oh, I never remember my pin," replied Benjamin, in an oddly smug tone of voice. "I use contactless card payment." The girl looked at him, confused. "What's contactless card payment?" she asked, as the blood drained from Benjamin Bakula's face and his eyes traced the brand new One Direction calendar behind him. He looked down at the Adidas Samba trainers. The dry Korean cackle of that sinister barista echoed through his mind. Forever. And so, trapped in the past, Benjamin Bakula found himself jogging from time to time, putting things right that once went wrong, and hoping each time that his next jog around the park will be the jog around the park home. Until he was crushed by the 2 towers of Wembley Stadium, not the other ones. Well, that's pretty much it.